Hey folks, and welcome to Alaska and Cordova Smith Airport up here on the top of the Panhandle. Yeah, I think that's ducks. I'm not sure. Either way, we are getting ourselves set up right now to head up just north of us right now, about 40 miles away to a village called Tatitlek, which is a small fishing village just south of Valdez. No roads in and out, so our job is to head up there and bring them some supplies. Now, we've got about 30 gallons on board, we need 7. We're just carrying extra fuel for safety's sake, but we're heading up here in our Cessna 207, which is the Albeo/Coronado model, whichever you want to call it. 207 is like a 172 that's been put in a rack and stretched. So, yeah, November 3038 is us today, and both this airport and where we're heading to are uncontrolled, so we'll be talking to traffic. But it's pretty quiet today. Of course, bigger planes fly cargo and passengers into airports like this. They're slightly longer runways, they're paved. Planes like us, bush planes, we fly them into the smaller places. Now we're heading to Tatitlek, which is a gravel runway, slightly sloped on the runway 31 end, and it's about 3,700 feet by 75 feet wide gravel runway. Not really something you'd put a 1900 into. But our job today is head up there and get that done, so without further ado, let's get our plane set up, shall we? So, it's a bit stuffy in here. Let's just pop the window for a moment. Okay, so let's get ourselves set up. Cowl flaps about half open for now. Fuel is selected to right tank for now. So let's pop our fuel in. And looking for our battery. Fuel pumps, aux and main on. Alternators on. And we'll start engine. Parking brake first so we don't run into anything whilst the engine runs up. Crack it so we just build our PM slightly. Okay, so we're looking like we're in the green and cylinder head temperature will come up with time. Want it to warm up a little bit first, so we'll just sit here for now. So whilst we're getting ready, we'll get ourselves set up here. We are squawking 1200 VFR, and navigation wise we want to be heading onto the Johnson radial, which will take us north, so we need to dial in what I believe is going to be, yeah, we've got Johnson dialed in. That's going to be 1, as it says there, 16.7. So once we get airborne we'll dial onto that, we'll fly towards it, then we'll turn around. Now we have the magenta line set on because, well, we put it in there just for safety's sake so we know where we're going. But we're going to fly radio navigation today because it's old school and it's fun. So before we move, we need to put our strobe lights on. Not our landing lights, beacon, and our navigation lights so people know we're moving. Okay. So, close this down to cracked open a little bit. And we'll close this. Now, because we can't actually just push the plane back, normally we'll just use the Flightsim mechanism to push us back, even though it's slightly unrealistic, but it lets us turn around without hitting a hangar. Always helpful. There we go. Cordova Smith traffic, November 3038 is taxiing for the active departure, runway 27. Straight out. Nose is so long on the 207, it's like taxiing a tail dragger sometimes. So we'll taxi ourselves out here. The gravel ahead of us should be our way out to the runway. We'll back taxi a little bit and then we'll get ourselves out of here. So I believe the aircraft is fully set up for us now. We'll put a notch of flap in there, just so we have a little bit of extra woomph on the takeoff. Yeah, there's the taxi line. We're going through grass apparently because welcome to Alaska. There we go. So we can turn the fuel pumps off. We'll do our mag run up checks in a second. In fact, here we'll do. So we will run up the engine. Now we'll see if we notice an RPM drop here. No bag drop, so we're good to go. Remember 3038 Cordova Smith traffic, entering the active taxi back for departure runway 27. So we're entering the active runway here. And we're going to just backtrack a little bit so we have some more takeoff room. We don't need a lot. We're a small aircraft. We're hauling food and mail that's come up from Anchorage. We'll be going out to the village. Okay, we're a little quick for the taxi here, so we should be able to turn around here. And we'll be good to go. Let's close that window, otherwise it's going to get really noisy really quick. And we'll just taxi into gravel at the side of the runway, because reasons. It's what happens when you can't reach out with your arm and just get the window. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we're now on the centre line. Cordova Smith traffic, November 3038, departing runway 27. Just run it up. Yeah, we're good to go. Got a bit of wind today, about 10 knots off 338 or so it's a little bit sketchy straight away. Yeah, yeah, we're crabbing straight off the runway. Welcome to Alaska. Now, if we want to do this unlegitly, we can just, well, modern-wise, we can just follow that magenta line on our nav and go straight, but we don't want to do that. We want to do it properly. So we are going to swing out towards the Johnson VOR. Should be off to our... You know what? Nah. We're going to take the scenic route, I think, because the Johnson VOR takes over a lot of ocean, so we're going to fly this one by heading. It's a little choppy. We'll get to 1,000 feet. Cordova Smith traffic number 3038 leaving airspace, heading north. Or departing the pattern north, I should say at this point. Okay, so we're about 1,000 feet now. We'll let our little friend autopilot, or autopilot as I call him, have a hand on this one. So we'll set our altitude hold as well. Let's get the aircraft trimmed down for flight. We'll just lean the mixture a tiny little bit. We'll pull our throttle back to about 2,300 inches on the manifold. And we'll drop our RPM to cruise power of about 2,300 there. Okay, we're looking good. So right now we are heading through the valley ahead of us up towards the little town of, I keep forgetting this one, Tatlik, or Titlek, which is a small village up towards Valdez. We'll bring it up here to about 1,500. Makes our life a little bit easier. No, honestly, I'm really glad to be able to actually bring Flightsim videos to you guys finally. This is something I've been doing for quite some time, for years in fact. I started with FS98 when my family got our first computer, and it came on a disc. And I had a crappy little joystick with no throttle and no rudder, and I was flying Cessnas and Sopwith Camel around Magersfield in Chicago. Went through all the other flight simulators up to FSX, and now this. Lockheed Martin's Prepare 3D, version 4.5, the latest one, 64-bit, with Orbex scenery, add-on aircraft, and the whole thing's gorgeous. I wanted to bring something different to you guys because being a lifelong simmer, especially being a lifelong bush pilot when it comes to flight sim, this has always been something that I've thoroughly enjoyed, and it's been something that I've had a great passion for. And I've noticed that a lot of YouTubers that do flight sim content, they tend to do airliners, or they tend to do GA. It's $100 hamburger runs, it's either big international flights, you know, Chicago to LA, that sort of stuff, and it lacks a little bit of the interest for me. My passion has always been bush flying. Difficult airports, bad weather, tricky places to operate, and it's always been truly exciting for me to fly in those areas. And It's been something I've personally found quite exciting, exhilarating. We're going to have to climb up a bit here, so let's do it ourselves. Otto could take a rest. But it's always been something I found quite interesting, and to me it's the raw origins of flying. It's the beginnings of aviation, and it's what aviation really kind of boils down to. It's pilots flying their planes. And I I realised my intro for the Flightsim series is a little Discovery Channel reality show. It's kind of what I was aiming for. Those shows, of course, Flying Wild Alaska, Ice Pilots, that sort of stuff, always been a huge interest to me. It's something I quite enjoyed, but bush flying is something I've loved for a long time before those shows appeared. And British Columbia, Alaska, they've been my Flightsim homes, although I've been everywhere. Australia, Mongolia, China, Japan, Africa, South America, the Pacific Islands, New Zealand. It's always been something that I've been truly passionate about and really, really enjoyed, but oh my god, it's windy up here. It's something that's freedom. And I think that's why I sim. I love the freedom that it gives you, and the total... yeah, freedom's the word I'd use. Just a make-believe world that I can be up here somewhere else on the planet that we live on. Rather than spending my entire life in England or occasionally taking holidays places, I can adventure to other worlds and lands and see places I might never get the chance to see. Do things I might never do. And while I can fly a Cessna 152 between airports in the UK and, you know, get myself a nice little sandwich and a cup of tea somewhere and then fly back, I don't purport to think because I've got thousands of hours flying bush planes in Alaska and Flightsim that I could ever hope to do this thing in real life. God, no. Would I have a go at it? Absolutely. Would I need a lot of instruction on the actual practical applications of bush flying? Absolutely. Definitely. Have I flown something like a 206? 207? No. Would I love to get my float rating? Absolutely. And there are companies in Scotland that actually offer it. I did my tail rating, so I have that. I can fly tail draggers, but it's... seaplanes and bush flying are two things I've always found so romantic and so exciting that I'd absolutely love to do it. And my god, I'm getting yawed around here like crazy by this rather choppy wind we're experiencing. Let's get the ATIS, I think, for our destination. We should be in range for that one soon. I don't have the frequency. Smirt. I'll have to use the Flightsim system to do it. To take like 5. Doesn't have one. Okay. So we'll get what's near it. Boswell Bay is pretty clear. It's Cordova weather, so we'll just get Cordova's weather again. Yeah, that's what I thought it'd be.
Visibility greater than 20 miles. Sky condition clear. Temperature.
Yeah, that's what I thought it would be. About 10 knots, but it's gusty 10 knots. So we're heading across this small headland here. Man, my feet are all over the place in the rudder right now to try and keep this plane in line. It's getting a bit spicy. I'm going to yaw around quite a bit by the gustiness. ATIS is saying 10 knots, but it's definitely shifting quite a bit and it's throwing us around, but we'll cope with that, not a big deal. So I believe we're heading across this... what are we looking for now? Yeah, we're basically heading into the wind here, so we're losing some airspeed. About 14 minutes out now, 27 miles, so we're just above these mountains ahead of us. So we're going to roughly aim for this central kind of nook over here. And we'll climb probably about another 1,000 feet and we'll clear that. So we'll go about 500 feet per minute up. We'll just gently control the plane. And whilst I'm doing that, I'll just pull up the information on where we're heading. Come on. There we go. There we go. It's at 123.7. I think it might be, and we're getting blown off course a little bit here. Come on, page. There we go. Yeah, thank you. Next page. Have our frequency? No. 122.7, that's what we're looking for, so we'll type in our comm frequency. Looking for 2.7, there we go. And we'll just change that frequency across now, so we should be on traffic frequency for the airport we're heading to. Let's go back to our main nav page. And we're not too far out now, we're about 12 minutes out. It's cresting these mountains here. Or this ridge line. Over where the mouse is here, that's Valdez over there, and the Valdez Straits. So just over the side of there is where the tanker terminals are and the big oil tankers tie up. That's where they get their stuff done. Alright, we don't need to climb too much further here. We'll nose forwards a bit, trim down. And we're at about... yeah, we'll just lean out the fuel a little bit. Should help us along. Now you'll see our indicated airspeed there is a lot higher than our ground speed. Why is that? So, indicated airspeed is the airspeed that comes through the pitot tube, which is a pressure sensor on the aircraft. More wind hits the front of the aircraft head on, it's going to show you going faster, but you're going to go slower. Whereas wind behind you means that you're still showing the speed you're going through the air, but you're moving through the air faster, so your ground speed is higher. So the ground speed is the speed at which you kind of cover the ground, but the indicated airspeed is the speed you move through the air. They could be two different speeds. For example, I could be flying at 60 knots with a 50 knot headwind, and I could be doing 5 to 10 miles an hour over the ground. You could technically hover a Cessna if the wind is high enough. That's a thing. But... okay... yep. We're crossing this land ahead of us now, and we'll cover these mountains, and then we should be descending down into Takeoff. So most of what we've got on board today is food and mail. So different kind of canned and preserved goods, some fresh vegetables, and mail and packages for the residents. So we're basically UPS, USPS, FedEx, and Walmart combined. A home delivery service in a Cessna. Out in Alaska. Most of these places don't have roads, so these villages, they depend on either boats or aircraft to bring them food and supplies. This is what they rely on, and I do find it adds a little bit more to the roleplay when you're flying to have a purpose, and for me that purpose is simulating what you'd actually be doing, not just flying 200 passengers to their holidays in the Mediterranean. No, keeping people alive, you know, transporting, you know, medical emergencies, bringing food and mail to people. It feels more frontier. That's exciting. One of the things I spent a lot of time doing, and we'll probably do some flights for in the future, is a thing called FS Economy. FS Economy is a, let's call it multiplayer, it's the Flightsim MMO. Whilst you don't see other people unless you're all in multiplayer or on VATSIM or something, and VATSIM's a controller operated multiplayer server system. FS Economy gives you a purpose. You can rent planes, take assignments, passengers, cargo, and fly those jobs to where they need to go and get paid. Now that means you can rent more planes and do it again. You can earn money and buy planes, then you can buy bigger planes, buy airports and sell fuel, you know, send assignments out. It gives Flightsim a purpose, and it gives you a reason to be doing all these things. Come on. A little bit more power. Come on, up we go. That's it. Come on, girl. Over we go. We should start seeing Takeoff ahead of us in a moment. About 5 or 6 minutes out now. Beautiful up here in the Alaskan foothills. That's the Denali Range and the Alaska Range over to our north over there. Just out the windshield. Now that headland over there should be, or the one just here, should be Takeoff, or nearly it. I think this will be us just up there. Yeah. We're before this headland gets crazy. So we're 14 miles out, about 5 minutes now. And we'll be able to get ourselves down and sorted. And there's also something really nice about hand flying a plane. Autopilot's good to keep you in one place while you get the aircraft set up and ready to fly, but I must say I truly enjoy actually flying the plane itself and, you know, working the aircraft. So I think we still have to cover this little crest ahead of us, then we should be good to go. So not many signs of life out here, are there? No towns, cities, railways, roads. It's just wild, raw nature. And there's something really cool about that, I think. Oh, we're a bit off track. Yeah, we'll be heading across this crest just ahead of us. Bring our throttle back a little bit to cruise power again. We'll even out here. We might need to climb a little bit, I think, ahead of us. Let's just trim up a bit in the nose. And we'll do just that. Now, it's also kind of weird for me right now because I'm using my Cytec X52, which is not a system I'm very used to. I obviously in real life fly with a yoke, and I fly with my left hand on that, and with the Cytec X52 I have to fly with my right hand on the stick and left hand on the throttle like a fighter jet, because I need to replace my throttle quadrants. I had to dust off my flight gear after years of inactivity. GTA roleplay on YouTube took over my life, so I didn't get much time to fly, and the throttle quadrants I'd forgotten were broken before I stopped, and I was going to replace them then and didn't. So I'm going to have to replace those so I can use that again. Because I do like flying twin-engine aircraft now and again, or quite often, to be fair. Most of them piston. But I need the throttles, mixtures, and props for that. And right now I don't have them working, so that'll be something I'll have to sort out, but I should have those in the near future. But for now, the X-52 does its job. It's just very strange flying a Cessna with the controls of a fighter. It's like if the F-16 was wearing a safety helmet, I guess is one way to describe it. Okay, so we cross this lump of land ahead of us, and we cross that dog leg just ahead of it, and then Takeoff is just on the far side. This feels like it's taking a darn sight longer than 6 minutes, but I'll believe it. Maybe I'm just imagining it. But no, Alaska's a truly gorgeous place. Scenery, thank you, Orbex. Gotta say, making this whole world a lot prettier. This is certainly not default scenery in Flightsim. Not in the slightest. Back inside. Still requires a bit of tweaking in P3D compared to FSX, but not as much, I'd say. You can definitely allow the simulator to do more on its own. It's a pretty hardy sim. Although I did notice that the default weather in P3D causes stutters. Orbex weather and add-on weather systems do not. Welcome to Logic, where the better looking weather impacts the system less. I don't know how that logic works, but it does. You know, it's funny, I've been keeping the little desktop fan on my desk turned off because I've been afraid of sound coming through when I'm flying something with a massive fan on it. Who'da knew? Now, flying is something I think is in my blood. It's always been passionate to me and exciting, and this sort of flying in the simulator gives me that freedom to do it, and do it my way, and enjoy it. I've done it a few times in GTA, of course, but it's not quite the same. Never will be. But the opportunity to bring something unique to you guys, and I mean, I've looked around, I've not found much bush flying in the YouTube Flightsim world. So I figure Return to the Wild will be a fun, exciting little series of interesting flights into tricky airfields and bad weather. So I think that's Takeoff ahead of us. We're going to be landing on the runway that's ahead of us, so we'll enter through the right base, I think is probably best. Takeoff traffic, November 3038 is entering right traffic base for runway 3. Runway 3. Full stop landing. Yeah, there's a mountain in the way, so typically left traffic would fly overhead, would fly downwind. Screw it, we'll do that. Takeoff traffic, November 3038, cancel last, entering left traffic for runway 30. We'll fly overhead, we'll drop to about 1,000 feet, and we will enter left traffic, because with that mountain there, you'd be running left patterns only. Not really making it easy. I was going to be lazy there and enter right base and just plonk it down to the runway, but we're not going to do that. Anyway, this is Takeoff here. There's a couple of small houses there. There's a small seaplane dock. There'll be other houses and cabins up the hill and around the place. But it's really small and isolated, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 places there. 8, maybe. Yeah, really small. But I think I see some guys down there waiting for this delivery, so we'll get it done. Okay, let's get the plane under control here. Drop our throttle down, and we'll get ready to enter left downwind for the runway we want. Should be around here if we can get the plane to cooperate with the wind. Keep an eye on our altitude here. And our airspeed. There's the runway. So we'll come out to about this island and make our rotation down. So we come between those 2 points, should have us parallel. We're level and turning coordinated now. And that should see us level with the runway. Takeoff traffic, November 3038, downwind for runway 30. Okay, we'll turn base once the airport is... Once we're level with that headland there. Bring the throttle back, start descending. November 3038, Takeoff traffic, returning base, runway 30. Let's start that descent. It's about 20... It's about 60 feet elevation here, so we want to be a little bit lower, but up a bit sooner. And we're basically returning final here in just a second. Because that is our airport just behind the pillar, which is our sign to turn. Just to let traffic, November 3038, turning final, full stop landing, runway 30. There we go. And let's bring the throttles back here. Okay, that wind is buffeting us quite a bit. Let's bring the speed down. Just off angle slightly. Bring in some flaps. Let's line ourselves up a bit better. Yeah, throw a side slip in there. Oh, hello. Come on. Don't gust on me now. There we go. Easy squeezy lemon peasy. We'll have to crab it in a little bit with the wind still being a bit of a problem. Means we'll have to correct at the last second so we don't bend the gear. Boing. Flaps up so we reduce our speed, put more weight on the gear. Sit traffic November 3038. It's going to be clear of the active at this time. Here we go. Taxiing off to the waiting truck over there. Looks like another plane just arrived too. Have to say hi to them. Taxi forwards. And we're stopping there. Parking brakes are on. Let's cut that fuel. Lights off. Battery and mags off. Cut off the fuel. And we'll roll that closed. And look how it sounds super windy out there even though we're stopped. And we're down. Welcome to Titlek. Well, we'll be offloading the plane here and we'll be getting everybody sorted out and everything under control. But thank you for joining me today with our first of Return to the Wild and my adventures in the world of Flight Simulator. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this one. It's been a little different to what I've done before, but hopefully something fun. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.